Okay, so we'll start our classes now. Hi, good evening everyone once again. So in our today classes, we'll study about the earthquake and its types. In our previous classes, we have finished some of the parts from the geomorphology. So now in this particular part, we'll study about the earthquake and its types. And then later on, we'll start studying about the other parts, that is the geomorphic movements. Geomorphic movements that we'll study in our second classes. Okay, so in like earthquakes and its types, if you see in these particular parts, we have various things, like we have the body waves, we have the surface waves, we have and the surface waves. In that body waves, we have the P waves, S waves, surface wave, we have the law waves and the relic waves. So, and how much destructions they are doing, all those parts we'll study. Then we'll study about the shadow zone. We'll study about the shadow zone. So all these parts we'll study in our today classes. Now in earthquake and its types. So now in this particular part, what do we mean the earthquake? Okay. So what do we mean the earthquake means like during the earthquake you already seen what will happen? There will be shaking. There will be shaking. Okay. So there will be shaking of earth. So that shaking of the earth is known as what? Earthquake. Okay. And that shaking of earth, how it is happening? It is happening because of due to the sudden release of energy. It is happening due to the sudden release of energy. So shaking of earth due to sudden release of energy. So that is what? That is the earthquake. So now in this part, like earlier part, we have studied that in our Earth's interior, what is there? We have the crust, okay? We have the mantle, we have the core. So in that, what we have studied that in the mantle, in this particular mantle part, we have the various radioactive materials. We have the various radioactive materials. So in this case, what is happening? Like when they're trying to escape, and come above this particular Earth surface, so what is happening? There is sudden release of energy from this particular part, and they're trying to come above the Earth surface. So in that case, also what will happen? We'll have the shaking. Okay. So that shaking of the Earth due to the sudden release of energy known as what? It is known as the earthquake. So now in this particular part, if you see, in this earthquake, the network of seismographic, that is the seismograph is the instrument that is used to measure the earthquake. So that particular, the network of seismographic stations all over the world. So in this earthquake, like if you see Delhi, we have this change like earthquake formation we are having, and we are having like release of energy from down the earth. Okay. So that release of energy, when it is happening, that release of energy can be seen at all places. Okay. What will happen like in Japan? If you see every year we have the tsunami, or everywhere we have the earthquakes. So in that, what is happening? That is happening because of the release of energy. And this release of energy, it can be felt only near the, not only, mainly near the boundary, mainly near the plate boundary, that all those plates we have studied. Like if you see the Japan, in Japan we have the regularly earthquakes, okay, and the tsunami. So in the Japan, where it is in Asia side, okay. So Japan, if it is here, so here we have this Eurasian plate in the Japan, and here we have the Pacific plate. So here what I mean, other minor plates are also there. So what is happening there? We are having these forces from the interior of the earth. Okay, like these plates are moving, we know. Okay, these plates are moving, then they are also colliding. So in that case, what is happening? Because of these movements of the plates, we have the shaking of earth. Okay, we have the shaking of earth. So because of the movements of plates, we have the shaking of earth. But in that case, what is happening? Like we have very small, like we have the magnitude of 1 or 2. Okay. So in that case, that movement that is not hazardous to us. Okay. So that's why we're not feeling that much energy released by this particular. But when we have the magnitude, like they are colliding or they are sliding. So in that case, or they are diverging. Okay. Or they are diverging. So in that case, what is happening? Like in between that, if some materials are coming. Okay. In between that, some materials are there coming. So because of that, there is a disturbance. Okay, there is a disturbance, and in that case, what is happening? There is a release of high amount of energy. Okay, and during that time, release of high amount of energy, that time we feel this particular shaking of earth. Okay, that time we feel this particular shaking of our earth. So what do we mean the earthquake? Means what? Shaking of earth due to sudden release of energy, that is known as the earthquakes. Okay, So now in this particular part, if you see, in this particular part also we are studying that we have the two types of scales. Okay, so that also we'll see that which scale is used for the measurement of my magnitude and which scale is used for the damage. Okay, so that also we'll see, and also we'll see the some earthquake regions. So now in this particular, like, see, these earthquakes can happen because of, like, we have the various regions. Okay, so these earthquakes can be of the natural or they can be man-made. Okay, so in the natural part, what all those earthquakes can be, like, because of the volcanism. Okay, when we have the volcanism, so in that case, what happens? In that case also we have the earthquakes. In the volcanism, what is happening? Plates are moving. Okay, either they are diverging or they are converging. Okay, so in that case, because of that volcanism also we have the movement and we have the release of energy. When we have the volcanism, there also we have the release of energy. So in that case, what is happening? There is a, like, that sudden shaking is felt on our Earth's surface, and that we call it as an earthquake. Then we have the plate tectonic. Okay, in that plate tectonic also we have like various plates we have. Like, what is happening? If suppose if two plates are colliding, so when colliding, so here what is happening? Now when they collide, so there will be release of energy. So in that case, because of the release of energy, what happens? We have the earthquake. Then divergent when they are moving away. Okay. So like when they are moving away, and suppose in between this, what happens? Some like hard rocks comes. Okay. So during that time, what will happen? They will be released to break, to pull these rocks on the either side. Okay. These both will put some pressure. So in that case, what will happen? Suppose if this particular plate is stronger. So in this case, what will happen? This will pull it. Okay. So when this pull it, so what happens? There will be release of energy in these areas. So in this particular divergence also we have the feeling of this earthquake. Okay. And also this particular divergent, you all can feel it by the, you all can know easily by the volcanism process also. Like when we have the convection currents from coming below the earth's surface. So during that time of what happens, doing this what happens, like here this convection current is trying to escape. So only it is trying to escape and it is coming as a volcanism from this part. Why? Because this is the weaker part. But at the other surfaces also what will happen, this particular volcanism, it will be felt. That volcanism won't be felt, but the movement of this convectional current will be felt on these land surfaces. So this is what? This is the particular earthquake. Okay, when that movement is felt. Then we have the folding. In the folding, like what will happen? Suppose if you see the, like we all know about the Himalayan. Okay. Himalayan mountain is what? It is folding. Now suppose two plates, when two plates collide with each other. Two plates when they collide with each other, so in that case what will happen? If some sediments are there between that. Okay. So in this case what will happen? These sediments, because of the colliding, because of the pressure from the both the side. So these sediments what will happen? They will rise up. Okay, they will fold. And because of that, what will happen? We'll be having the feeling of this earthquake. Like in Nepal, you all would have heard that in 2014. Okay, in 2014, we had the earthquake. That was the disastrous earthquake. So that time, what had happened? That time, like Nepal, every time, even now also, you'll be hearing that there is some earthquakes happening, but that is of the less magnitude, like 1, 2, or 3. Okay, like one. Sometimes what happens when there is like maximum release of energy, sudden release, that maximum release of energy. So that time what we are having, that time we are feeling this particular earthquakes. Okay. So in 2014, what happened? That time we had felt this particular earthquakes at a higher magnitude, like nearby to the 7. Okay. In India, it was nearby to 6.9 layer, and in Nepal, it was nearby 7.2 layer. Okay. So that time what happened? That because of this higher magnitude, that we had this particular earthquake, and we felt in India part also. Okay. Then we have the landslide. Now landslide, what happens? Suppose if we have some landforms, suppose if we have mountains. So in the mountains, if some big boulders are falling down, okay. So in that case, what will happen? When these big boulders are falling down, so in that case, like it will put immense pressure on this particular earth surface, earth crust. Okay. So in that case, what will happen? That time also we'll having the shaking of this particular earth surface. Okay. So in that case also we have this earthquake. So these are the natural. Then we have the man-made earthquakes. So in the man-made earthquakes, what are all those types? We have the nuclear test and we have the building of dams. Okay, nuclear test, like you all have studied about the Pokhran. Okay, Pokhran test, where we had tested out some nuclear materials. Okay, nuclear missiles. So during that time, if you all would have heard, during that time, what happened in Rajasthan? In Rajasthan, that Pokhran is in Rajasthan only. Okay, in Rajasthan, what happened in that sandy areas? In that sandy areas, we had feeling of like there was large shaking of this movement of the earth surfaces. Okay, so that's why when they try to explore this particular nuclear test in the Pokhran area, nearby, like if you see nearby that Pokhran area, no one was there. Okay, like because they know that it will blast and there will be some feeling of the earthquake, and also like it will release this particular nuclear, also it will release large amount of energy, so many people can be killed by burning of this nuclear energy, or also by earthquake also. Okay, so nuclear test also creates earthquakes. Okay, then we have the building of the dam. So now in this building of the dam, what is happening? Like suppose if here rivers are flowing, okay, and here we are building a dam. Okay, so now in this case, what is happening? We are stopping all this water before this particular part. When we are stopping all this water before this particular part, so what is happening? Now in this area, now in this particular area, high pressure is applied. Okay, now that much water we have. So here what happens? Pressure is applied at maximum. So in that case also in dam area, also we can have the earthquakes. So these are what? Man-made. So what are all those natural earthquakes? Volcanism, okay, plate tectonics, folding, landslide. Then because of the man-made, the earthquakes occurrence we can have like nuclear test and the dam. So these are the various things because of which we can have the earthquakes. So now in this particular part, if you see regarding the earthquakes, so in this earthquakes, like it is being measured by the various scales. Okay, it is being measured by the, like we know that it is being measured on a particular instrument. So that we call it a seismograph. But in that seismograph also we have the scale. Okay, in that seismograph we have the two types of scales. So that two types of scales also we will see in this particular part. So now in that particular part, first we'll see about the focus. Okay, focus, hypocenter, and all these parts first we'll see. Then after that we'll see about the other parts of this scale. Okay, so now in this part we'll see this particular part is important because from this part also questions has been asked in a serious exam. Okay, I don't know about the FCAT, but serious exam when I wrote that time questions was asked from this particular part. In that they asked about that this hypocenter. So see here, like what happens? These earthquakes, how occurrence will happen? Like we have the here we have one plate. Okay, this is one plate, and then we have one more plate. Like here we have one plate. Okay, so this is one more plate. So now in this case, what is happening? Now in this plate, now we know that these are like it might collide or it might slide against each other. Okay, or it might diverge. Okay, these two are what? These two are the place. So in that case, what will happen when the movements are there? Okay, and in this middle, if something comes, in that we have the maximum release of energy. Okay, so in that case, what happens? Like from this part. Okay, so when we have the release of energy, so from this part we'll take one as a center. Okay, from the part where the that maximum release energy takes place. Okay, that energy release at first. Okay, so that part we'll take it as a center. Okay, and that part what we'll call this particular center. Okay, and this particular part will be happening inside the interior of the crust. Okay, the center will be having inside the interior of the crust. Interior of the crust will have this particular center. Now from this particular, when this we have that release of energy at this particular center, so this particular center will be known as what? Focus. Focus, or also we call this particular focus as a hypocenter. So at focus, what happens? In the interior of the crust, here what happens? That release of energy happens at first. Release of energy happens at first. Okay, it happens at first. So remember about this particular point. Now this interior of the crust means what? We can say in interior of the earth surface also. Like crust is a part of interior of the earth. Okay, so interior of the crust. Now what will happen from this part? Okay, suppose if energy being released at this particular part. from these parts, see, here we'll have energy release all over this particular in circular manner. Okay, but what is that energy will travel in all directions. Okay, but in that part, what will happen? Remember, the Earth surface. Suppose here we have the particular Earth surface, our land surface on which we are there. So that part, suppose if this is our Earth surface. Now in this case, what happens? From this focus, at particular at 90 degree, okay, at 90 degree, when this particular earthquake is felt on the surface of this earth, okay, when it is felt on the surface of the earth, so that particular point at 90 degree, that particular point will be known as what? It will be known as the epicenter. It will be known as the epicenter. Okay, remember that it will be known as the epicenter, and at this particular point only the maximum damage will happen. Okay, so on the earth surfaces, okay, on the earth surfaces at this particular point only we will be having this first feeling of these movements of the earth. Okay, first feeling at the epicenter we'll have. Okay, like here, like here we have point P1, okay, we have P2, we have P3, we have P4. Okay. Now suppose if release of energy is happening at this particular point. So this is known as what? This is the focus. Now in this particular part, from this at 90 degree, if this particular place, okay, at 90 degree, we have this P3 place. Okay. And here we have on the earth surface, here we are feeling this, the sudden release of energy at first. Okay, at first on our earth surfaces. So this particular P3 will be what? This particular P3 will be the epicenter. This particular P3 will be the epicenter. Okay, remember that about the epicenter and the focus focus or the hypocenter. Okay, so these 2 points you all must remember. So you can see in this diagram also. Here we have the focus. Okay, and from this focus, what happens? At 90 degree, we have the epicenter. Okay. Now in this particular part, like at the depth this particular focus, that sudden release of energy we are happening. Okay, so in that particular part, according to the depth, okay, according to the depth, we have the 3 types of earthquakes. In our earlier part also we have studied this particular part. So according to the depth, we have 3 types of earthquakes. So what are all those? Okay, 3 types of earthquakes according to focus. Okay, according to focus, or also we can call it as the depth. Okay, so what all the 3 types we have? We have what all the 3 types we have? We have shallow focus earth. Okay, we have shallow focus earth, and in that shallow focus earth surface, what it will happen? We saw that in the shallow focus earth, that the focus will be being located. Suppose if here we had this particular sudden feeling on the surface of the earth and down below. So from here to from the epicenter to that focus, okay, that location will be what? 0 to 70 kilometer. Okay, and that type of focus earthquake will be known as what? Shallow focus of earthquake. Okay, so that is the shallow focus earthquake. Then we have the intermediate focus. The intermediate focus will be where? It will be from here to this particular nearby 70 to 300 kilometers. Okay, so there we have this particular, the second type of focus earthquake, that is the intermediate focus earthquake. And then we have the deep focus earthquake, and that deep focus earthquake will be felt at 300 to 700 kilometers. Okay, and in this particular part, if you see the distribution, the maximum earthquakes happens at the shallow focus earthquake, shallow focus. Okay, and that like 70 to 85% of earthquakes that we are felt on our earth surfaces. So here that maximum emergence of earthquakes happens in the shallow focus. Okay, so there 70 to 85% we are felt. We are feeling this particular earthquakes. Then in the intermediate focus, if you see, we have 12 to 15%. And very in the less amount, we have the deep focus earthquake, that is 3 to 5%. Okay, so this is all about the types of earthquakes according to the depth. Okay, now in this particular part, we'll see about it how we are measuring this particular earthquakes. Okay, and in this particular, like we have these earthquakes, remember that these particular earthquakes are being felt. Why? Because here the isostatic equilibrium isostatic equilibrium is disturbed. Okay, so that's why we are feeling these earthquakes. Okay, that's why we have the earthquakes. Like what do you mean the isostatic equilibrium? Now, see, when we study about this particular interior of the Earth's surface, we saw that this is the crust. This is the crust. Okay, then here we have the till some upper part of the mantle. This is the core, and this is the mantle. Okay, now in this particular mantle part, here from this particular crust to this upper mantle, we have the lithosphere. Okay, then below that we have this particular asthenosphere. And we studied that in this particular asthenosphere, this asthenosphere is what is in the molten state. Okay, it is in a molten state that we saw. And in that, what is happening? The lithosphere is gliding on this particular asthenosphere. Okay, it is gliding on this particular asthenosphere. So what is happening here? That equilibrium is maintained. Okay, when it is gliding on this asthenosphere, that equilibrium is maintained. Okay, means what? That balance is maintained. Now when that balance is being disturbed, okay, so that equilibrium maintained is what known as, it is the isostatic equilibrium. Okay, so when this being disturbed by due to the various activities, like due to the convectional current, okay, due to the convectional current or plate movements, so when it is being disturbed, so that time what happens, this equilibrium is also being disturbed. So in that case we have the earthquake. Okay, so remember that our earth maintains the isostatic equilibrium. Okay, remember this isostatic equilibrium. Okay, and when it is being disturbed, so that time we have this earthquakes. Okay, so now in this particular part we'll see about the how our earthquake is measured. Okay, so like we all know, just for this particular part, remember everyone, this is important for your AFCAT purpose also. Like earthquake measurement happens by an instrument, that is the seismograph. Okay. Earthquake measurement, if you see, earthquake measurement happens by a instrument. Measurement happens by an instrument. Instrument, that is what? That is the seismograph. Okay, that instrument is seismograph. Okay. Now on this particular seismograph, if you see, we'll be having two scales. Okay. On this particular seismograph, we'll be having two scales. One is the Richter scale. Okay. One is the Richter scale and another one is the Mercalli scale. One is the Richter scale and another one is the Mercalli scale. Okay. So now in these scales, like we have divided this scale on the basis of like magnitude and the damage caused. Okay. So now in this point, you all must remember that on the Richter scale, on this particular Richter scale, we measure energy. Okay, we measure the magnitude that we measure on the Richter scale. Okay, so magnitude is what? That energy, that how much amount of energy is being released. So that we measure on this particular magnitude, Richter scale. Okay, then we have the Mercalli scale. On this Mercalli scale, what we are doing? On this Mercalli scale, we are measuring the intensity. Means what? The damage caused by this particular earthquake. Okay, we are measuring the intensity of that particular earthquake. Means what? Like we are measuring the damage caused by this particular earthquake. Okay, so on the Richter scale, when we are measuring, in that the scale, like how if we see, like when you are using a geometry part, okay, so like for drawing some diagrams, what you are doing, you are using some scales. Okay, so on that scale, like some, if it is short size scale, means what, it will be 0 to 15 meter. Okay, and if it is long size scale, means what, it will be 0 to 30 meter. Okay, so similarly on this part also we have the, on that scale we have the representation. So in that, what it is being represented from 0 to 9 on Richter scale. Okay, on Richter scale it is being represented from 0 to 9, and on Mercalli scale that damage is being represented from 1 to 12. It is being represented from 1 to 12. So remember this particular point. Okay. From 1 to 12 it is being, now in this particular part, see here how it is being measured. How it is being measured, that also we'll see. Like see here, we all know that 10 to the power 0 if we do, so how much we'll get? We'll get 1. Okay. So now see here, like on this Mercalli scale that 0 to 9 it will be measured, and 1 to 12 it will be measured on the, 0 to 9 it will be measured on the Richter scale, and on the Mercalli scale we'll be seeing 1 to 12. Okay. So now in this particular, in the seismograph, how we'll be seeing, like, see, we'll be having like on the Mercalli scale, if you see on the seismograph, 1, 2, 3, 4 lies it will be mentioned. Okay. So when it is being mentioned lies means what? One will be of what? 1 will be of the 10 to the power of 1. Okay. 10 to the power of 1. Sorry, it will be measured as 10 to the power of 0. Okay. So now this 1, 2, 3, 4, this will be measured on this particular Mercalli scale. Now in 0 to 9, it will be having on the Richter scale. Now in that Richter scale means what? How energy will be measuring. Suppose on the Mercalli scale we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in that case, they might ask that how much energy is released. Okay. So remember that on the Mercalli scale, if it is showing as 3, okay. So if it is showing as 3, so on this particular part, what we'll write? We'll write as the energy will be what? 10 square. That means what? 100 energy will be released. Okay. So we'll measure 10 to the power 0, then 10 to the power 2, and this 2 scale will be what? 10 to the power 1, 3 will be 10 to 10 square, and 4 will be 10 cube. Okay. So these things, what it will be? It will be the energy. Okay. So that much energy will be released. Okay. So this is regarding the how we measure our earthquakes. Okay. Now in this particular part, like we'll see some theory part, the network of seismograph. Seismograph what? It is the instrument. Okay. Stations all over the world record dozens of earthquakes every day. So that's what we saw, that we have the earthquakes every day. But what, when we are having the maximum magnitude, that time only, when like we have some damage, so that time only we are mentioning that earthquake has come. Okay. So most of them are not felt by human beings, as they're minor quakes only. So that's what, like it will be of 1 magnitude or 2 magnitude. So that is not being felt. But when it is coming like nearby 4, nearby 5, so that time we are feeling these earthquakes. Okay. The occurrence of severe earthquakes is limited to a few regions in the world. Okay. Like we study about few regions, what, like we saw about this Japan area. Okay. Here we have this Europe area, Eurasia area. Okay. And in this Japan, like Japan is nearby the coastline of, in the eastern coastline of this particular Eurasia. Okay. And in there, what we are happening, there we are seeing we have the oceanic plate. Okay. So there we are seeing some earthquakes. Okay. So the occurrence of severe earthquakes is limited to a few regions in the world. Okay. Like in the Pacific Ring of Fire. In the Pacific Ring of Fire, we have the maximum earthquakes. Okay. So in that earthquakes, like that severe earthquakes we have in that area. Okay. So remember that the Pacific Ring of Fire is not famous only for the volcanic eruptions. Okay. It is also famous for the earthquakes also. The point within the earth crust, where an earthquake originates. Okay. Earth crust means what? Inside the earth crust, where that earthquakes originate, is called what? Focus or the hypocenter. Okay. It is known as what? Focus or the hypocenter or the seismic focus. So write down this particular in your note. Okay. Then it generally lies within a depth of 6 kilometers in the earth crust. Okay. So like we have this shallow focus earthquake when we have. So like mostly we saw that shallow focus is 70 to 85% earthquakes that is happening in the shallow focus. Okay. So that we can conclude that it generally lies within a depth of 6 kilometers in the earth crust. Okay. The point vertically above the focus. So vertically means what? Exactly at 90 degree. Remember this particular part also, exactly at 90 degree when it is being felt on a Earth's surface. So that is what? Epicenter. And here we have the focus. So remember this particular part also. The point vertically above the focus on the Earth's surface is called what? It is called as the epicenter. the intensity of earthquake will be highest in the epicenter. Okay. So now when see what I said in the previous part, that at this particular part here intensity will be higher. Okay. Means what, here the damage will be maximum at this particular point. Okay. And here the magnitude also will be maximum. Now as it moves further, like in this in the both the directions, so what happens? Now here the intensity somewhat it will decrease from this point. Okay, then at this particular it will decrease. So in this way this particular intensity happens. Okay, so it decreases as one moves away. All natural earthquakes takes place in the lithosphere. Okay, so all those natural earthquakes, if you see, it will be in the lithosphere part only. Okay, like shallow focus we saw that 0 to 70 kilometers only we are having. Okay, 0 to 70 kilometers. And we saw that continental crust. What is the thickness of the continental crust? We saw that it will be measured from like 0 to 70 to 90 kilometers, or somewhere it might be measured in the 70 to 100 kilometers. Okay, so that much we have this continental crust. So that continental crust is what? It is a part of the lithosphere. Okay, so that is what the region which constitutes the earth's crust and the rigid upper part of the mantle. Okay, so in that part only these all natural earthquakes will take place. Okay, so all natural earthquakes take place in the lithosphere part. So remember this particular part. Now in this seismic wave. Okay, so what do you mean the seismic wave? Earthquake waves or the seismic waves? So the earthquake which originates in the lithosphere propagates different seismic waves or the earthquakes. Like here it is propagating. So now here seismic waves will be felt in a circular manner. Okay, so earthquake waves are basically of two types. So one is the body waves, earthquake waves. If you see, so we have the two types of waves in the earthquake. Okay, so what are all those two types? One we have, that is the body waves. Okay, now in this particular part, just forget about like what we are all studying about this earthquake waves in our earlier classes in seventh or the eighth standard. Okay, or in the ninth standard. So that forget about that part. Okay. Now in that remember that types of waves, if you see, we have the two types of wave. One is the body wave, and other one is the surface wave. Now in this body waves also it is of two types. This body wave is also of two types. One is the P wave, and other is the S wave. S wave means what? It is the secondary wave, and P wave means what? It is the primary wave. Okay. And surface wave also we have the two types. We have the one is the L waves, also we call it as the love waves, and other one is the Rayleigh waves. Okay. So now the types of waves also we'll study in the detailed manner. Okay. So now we'll study in the detailed manner. First we'll see the some theory part. Okay. So earthquakes based on the depth of the focus, we saw shallow earthquakes, intermediate earthquakes, deep earthquakes. So we saw all these parts. Okay. Then of the total energy released in the earthquakes, about 12 to 15% comes from the intermediate. About 3 to 5% comes from the deeper earthquakes. And 70 to 85% comes from the shallow earthquakes. Okay. So now distribution of earthquakes, if you see, distribution of earthquakes. So this is also the distribution of, okay. Now that was on the basis of the focus. Now, all over the world, if you see, the Pacific Ring of Fire, it accounts for how much? 68%. Okay, Pacific Ring of Fire, in that area, 68% earthquakes are being felt. Okay, then a second belt known as the Alpine Belt. Alpine Belt, that is the Himalayan and the Alps. Okay, Himalayan mountain and the Alps, there we are feeling the second highest. Okay, the energy released in earthquakes from this belt is about how much? 15% of the world total. Okay, so 68% we have in the Pacific Ring of Fire, 15% we have from the Alpine Belt, that is the Himalayan and the Alps mountain area. Okay, then the third, the mid-world mountain belt. Okay, in that mid-world mountain belt, what will happen? Like Alpine belt extends parallel to the equator. Okay, parallel to the equator from Mexico across the Atlantic Ocean. From Mexico across the Atlantic Ocean, and that in that case, like Mediterranean Sea we have. So from there, Mediterranean Sea, then we have the Caucasus Mountain. We have the Caucasus Mountain. Okay, then Caspian Sea area. So in that area also we are feeling this particular earthquakes. Okay, so near this Caucasus Caspian Sea area only we have the Turkey. Okay, and recently in 2023 we had the earthquakes, or 24. Okay, either in the last of the 2023 or 24 we had the earthquakes in the Turkey. Okay, the Turkey comes in this particular area, falls in this particular area. Okay, so how much, like in these area we have some earthquakes occurrence, like nearby the 17 percentage, not 17, some 16% we have the occurrence in these particular areas, and that there only the Turkey falls in this particular area in the third type. Okay, so in this Pacific ring of fire, if you all see here, if you see, and this, like we saw that it is happening because of the plate movements. Okay, mostly it is happening because of the plate movements. And here if you see, this is the North America part, and these particular earthquakes also might lead to the, like, it will lead to the breaking. Okay, it will lead to the some breaking, or it might lead to the like subsidence or the upliftment. Okay, upliftment of one part, subsidence of one part. So it might lead to all those things. Okay, this earthquakes will lead to the fault. Okay, so in this particular part, if you see here, we have the our North America continent. Okay, so in this North America continent, and also we know that here we have our Pacific Ocean. Okay, Pacific plate. So here in this part, what is happening here, because of the collision between this particular part? Okay, because of this particular plates, we have the eruption of this particular Rockies mountain. Okay, Rockies mountain we are seeing here. Okay, so now in this part also, like we have this particular convergent divergent. Okay, so we saw that in all plate boundary, convergent, divergent, or let it be the transform. In all cases, we have the occurrence of earthquakes. So in these area also we have the feeling of this earthquakes. Okay, so now this particular area comes in the what region? It comes in the Pacific ring of fire region. Okay, so here we are feeling this particular part. Okay, then at here this particular near the USA part, we have the San Andreas fault. Okay, where we have this particular transform boundary. Okay, so there also we are feeling this particular earthquakes. Okay, then here if you come in this particular South America area, South America, here we have the Andes mountain. We have the Andes mountain. Okay. Now in this Andes mountains, what is happening? This South America plate is colliding with this Pacific plate, and various other smaller minor plates are also there. So when these volcanic eruptions are happening, this particular like convergence divergence are happening. So in this case, what is happening here also, that leading to formation of Andes mountain. Okay. And now in this part also, remember that Rockies mountain, where it is? It is in the North America, and Andes mountain, it is in the South America. Remember that particular part. Okay. And these Rockies mountain, Andes mountain, they're what? They're like the chains. Okay. They are the ranges type. Okay, like various mountain peaks we have in these areas also. So remember, like Himalayan ranges we studied. So similarly, Rockies and the Andes are also there. Okay, so now in this particular area also we'll be feeling these earthquakes. Okay, so this is the part of also the Pacific Ring of Fire area. Okay, then similarly, if you see from here in this particular part, in the Pacific area, Pacific Ocean area, here we have the Japan area. Okay, so here we are feeling this particular earthquakes. Okay, due to the movement between the plates, either let it be the like plate margin, let it be the convergent, divergent, or the transform. So because of that, we have the earthquakes. Okay, then in this area, if you see here, in this area we have our Himalayan mountain. So here also we are feeling that earthquakes in the Nepal area and some parts of Bihar and UP. Then in this area, in the Eurasian part, okay, here in the Asia part and here in the Europe part. Okay, here we have the various mountains. So in these areas, we are feeling these particular earthquakes. Okay. So these are the distribution of earthquakes around the world. Okay. So maximum that distribution of earthquakes, if you see, we are being felt in all those mountainous area where we have the volcanic eruptions, where we have the plate margin, where we have the plate margins, like two plates are there. Okay. So there we are seeing this particular earthquakes. So this is all about the distribution of earthquakes. Now, if you see regarding the Turkey, okay, I was talking about the Turkey. In the Turkey case, what is happening? Here we have the Anatolian plate. Okay, here we have the Arabian plate, and here we have the Eurasian plate. Now, Eurasian plate, we know that it is the what? It is the major plate. Okay, now it is putting some pressure this side towards the Anatolian plate. Okay, Now Arabian plate also putting some pressure. Okay, so now because of that only what happened, we had these earthquakes in the Turkey area. In the Turkey area. Now in this particular part, why erupt? Just remember that what is the capital of Turkey? Okay, regarding the AFCAT questions might be asked. So what is the capital of Turkey? It is Ankara. Okay. Now recently they have changed the capital also. So just go through the Google and search that what is the capital of Turkey. Okay. So remember the Ankara part also and remember the other capital also if they have changed. Okay. I don't know whether they have changed or not, but talks were going for changing this Turkey capital. So remember that. Okay. So this is the like here at this particular part only we had felt this particular earthquakes. So that's why, like in the you all would have heard in the news that many buildings fall down. More than 1,000 people died in this particular earthquakes. Okay, so this is the Turkey area. So that is all about the distribution of earthquakes. Now we'll come about this slide. Are you asking about this slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me anything. What do you want to ask in this part?
That more than 1,000 is like it happened in Turkey or what?
No, it happened in Turkey. You all would have heard the recent news in
Yes, sir.
2023.
Yes.
In 2023 or the starting of the 2024. Okay, in the Turkey, we had this particular earthquakes. So now we are seeing about the seismic waves. Okay, we have finished about the distribution of the earthquakes. Okay, sorry, distribution of the earthquakes we have finished. Now we'll see about the seismic waves. What are all those types of seismic waves? So now in this particular part, if you see, in this particular part in the seismic waves, if you see, like we have the two types of wave. One is the body waves and another one is the S waves. That is the surface waves. These particular seismic waves, it is being divided into two parts. One is the body waves. So how can we know that which one is the body waves and which one is the surface waves? Now in this particular part, suppose if this is our Earth surface. Okay, this is our Earth surface. So now in this case, what is happening? This is the interior of the Earth surface. Okay, and here it is the like exterior of the Earth surfaces. So in this interior part, okay, interior part of the Earth, when we are having the earthquakes, okay, when we are having the waves formation, so that particular waves will be known as what? That particular waves will be known as what? Body waves. Okay, and when on the surface of the Earth, when on the surface of the Earth, on the surface of the Earth, when we have the waves formation, okay, that particular waves will be known as what? It will be known as the surface waves. Okay, so interior in the body of the Earth, so that is the body waves, and on the surface means what? Out of the crust area. Okay, so when we are having the waves, so that is known as what? Surface waves. Now this particular body waves, it is also being subdivided into two parts. One is the primary waves, and the other one is the secondary waves. Okay. Now in this particular primary waves, what it is happening? In this primary waves, like we know that we have the three types of matter. Okay. One is the solid, another one is the liquid, and another one is the gas. Okay. So now in these three types, what is happening? Like first, we must know that when we have the sudden release of energy at first, okay, when we have the first focus, okay, when we have the sudden release of energy at first, okay, that like we have feeling that some shaking at first, so that is what? That is the primary waves, okay, so that is the primary waves, and remember that these particular primary waves, this shaking will be happening inside the interior of the body, interior of the earth. Okay. So in these primary waves, what happens? Like in this part, these primary waves, it is being felt at first. And remember that it travels in all medium. It travels. So what all those medium we have? We have the solid, liquid, and gas. Okay. So it travels, this primary waves travels in all medium and it is being felt first. Okay. It is that shaking is being felt first. Okay, so that is like first we have that shaking, so that is the primary waves, and after the shaking of this primary waves, if we have the other moment, okay, if another waves we have, okay, like second time, so that wave is what? That is the secondary waves. Okay, and this particular secondary waves, it travels only through the solid. It travels only through the solid. So remember what this particular, it travels only through the solid. Now in this particular part, we have the surface wave. Okay. So surface wave also we have the two types. Surface wave, we have the two types. We'll see about the primary waves and the secondary waves in detailed manner, and also about the surface waves. All those waves will be seeing that in the detailed manner. Okay. Now in this particular surface wave, what happens? We have the two waves. We saw that it is being felt on the surface of the earth. Okay. So that is what it is, the surface wave, or also we call it as the S waves. Okay. So don't get confused with this particular S waves. Similarly, this secondary also, like for shortcut purpose, they call them as the S waves. So don't get confused. So remember about this particular secondary waves, and remember about the surface wave. Okay. So remember that secondary waves happens inside the interior of the body, and surface waves happens on the surface of the body. Okay. So most probably if secondary option is given, okay, and also the surface option is also the S waves option is given. Okay. So in that you must recall that this S waves is what? It is nothing but the surface wave. Okay. So remember that. And or in that part what happens? Suppose in that surface, like surface wave, surface option is given, and other option is given the S. Okay. So remember it, in that case what will happen? It will be the other part, that it will be the secondary. So don't get confused. So remember these particular properties. By knowing these properties, you all can easily recall that which one will be the surface wave and which one will be the secondary waves. Okay. Now in this surface wave, if you see, we have the two subdivisions. In that we have one is the love waves, and the other one is what? Rayleigh wave. Other one, it is the Rayleigh waves. Okay. So regarding the mediums, what we are studying, that medium is important for this particular part only, primary and the secondary waves. That primary waves travels through all three mediums, that is solid, liquid, and the gas, and secondary waves travels only through the solid. Okay. So remember about this particular part. So in the seismic waves, we have the two types of waves, body waves and the surface waves. Then body waves is also of two types, primary waves, also known as the P wave, and the secondary waves, also known as the S waves. Okay. So then we have the surface wave. In that surface wave, we have the love waves. Okay. And we have the Rayleigh waves. Okay. So love surface wave is also two types, love and the Rayleigh waves. Okay. So now in this particular part, we'll see about it in the details. Okay. So body waves. So they are what? Generated due to the release of energy at the focus. They are generated due to the release of energy at the focus and moves in all direction. Okay. So this particular body waves, what it will happen? It will be moving in all direction. Okay. It will be moving in all direction. So there we have the body waves. Okay. So in that body waves, what all those two types of body waves we have? That we have the P wave and the S wave. That is the secondary wave. Okay. So hence we named it this as the body waves. They travel only through the interior of the earth. So remember this point. Body waves travels only through the interior of the earth. Okay. So remember that if in the options questions are given like that, that P waves is being felt on the surface of the earth. Okay. P waves being felt on the surface of the earth. So in that case, what happens? It is false. Okay. Because it is felt only in the interior of the earth, in the body of the earth, not on the surface. Okay. So this statement will be correct. So for confusing you all, this like these options might be given. Okay. So in this, body waves are faster than the surface waves. Okay. So in this particular part, if you see, like we are seeing what the body waves, so in the like speed purpose, if you see, so body waves are what? Body waves are faster than the surface waves. Faster than surface waves. Okay. Now in this particular body waves also, we have the P waves and the S waves. Okay. We have the P waves and the S waves. That's secondary waves. In that case, what is happening? P waves is faster than the secondary waves. Okay. P wave is faster than the secondary wave. So remember that. Similarly, in the surface wave, when we'll be studying about the two types of wave, that is the love waves and the Rayleigh waves, there also you'll see that which one is the at the fastest. Okay. So like for this arrangement also we must know. So that also we'll talk. Okay. In the this decreasing order of the speed of the waves. Okay. There are two types of body waves. One is the primary waves, also known as the P waves. Other one is the secondary waves. We call them as the S waves. So these are the body waves. Now in this particular, we'll see what the P waves. Okay. So in P waves, what happens? They are the fastest body waves, twice the speed of the S waves, and are first to reach during the earthquake. They are twice the speed of S waves and are first to reach the during an earthquake. Then primary waves, remember that they are similar to the sound waves. Regarding this particular part also questions are given. Okay, they are similar to the sound waves and they are longitudinal waves. Means what will happen, like when they travel, like when we have this particular P waves, so in that case what will happen, like here it will be traveling in lies. You all would have seen in the harmonium, that musical instrument. What will happen, lies they will travel, okay, like a spring. Okay, from this side force is being applied. Okay, so what will happen, now this will go this side, from when this side force is being applied, so now this particular part will go this side. Okay, so it will act like a spring. Means what, in that case what will happening, we'll be having the contraction and the extraction, like compression and the expansion. So that particular waves are known as what, that particular waves are known as the longitudinal waves. So remember that when we have the compression and the expansion, there we have the longitudinal waves. And in that we have one more types of waves, like in physics if we see, there will be studying of the transverse wave. Okay, transverse waves. Okay, so in that what is happening here, we have the compression and the expansion. In the transverse wave, what will happen, we'll be having like this, like, and this crest and trough formation will be there. Okay, crest and trough formation will be there. Okay, so that also we'll see in this particular class. Okay, so in that is what compression and expansion is what longitudinal waves. So P wave is what, it is the longitudinal waves. Okay, and they are similar to the sound waves. So by this, can you conclude that sound waves travels through all mediums, solid, liquid, and gas? Okay. So in which particle movement is in the same direction of the wave propagation. Like suppose if particle is moving this side, so the direction of propagation also will be in the this side. Okay. So in that way, can we say what? The direction will be parallel. The direction of this particular particle and also the waves, direction of particle and the waves, what it will happen, it will be parallel. They travel through solid, liquid, and the gaseous materials. They create density difference in the earth material, leading to stretching and the squeezing. Okay, that it will stretch and the squeeze. Okay, so what, it will be traveling the longitudinal type. Okay, like how it will be traveling in the horizontal type. In the horizontal type it will be traveling. Okay, so that is about the primary waves. Okay, so in the primary waves, you all can see the speed of primary waves, it is 5 to 8 kilometer per second. 5 to 8 kilometer per second. And primary waves is also what, longitudinal waves, that compression and the expansion we saw. Okay, then it will be what, this movement of the particle, movement of the direction of the particle and the direction of waves. What will happen, it will be parallel. Okay, then this particular primary waves will be of what, high frequency. Primary waves will be of the high frequency. It will be of high frequency, and it will be of high frequency, and like it will be like, since this particular primary waves we are having in the interior of the earth. Okay, so in that case what will happen, it will have the least destruction. It will have the least destruction, and we saw that they travel in all medium, that is solid, liquid, and gas. And remember that primary waves travels like solid, liquid, gas we saw, but remember about this order also, they travel like maximum, like sound. If you study about the sound part also, so sound what? It travels maximum in the solid. Then after that, liquid, the maximum speed. And then we have the gas. Okay. So in this way, we have the primary waves. Okay. So remember this particular arrangement. So maximum first we have the solid, then its speed will be in the liquid, and then after that it will be in the lowest speed in the gaseous area. Okay. So remember this particular arrangement also. And it is similar to sound waves. So sound waves also. Like in physics, questions has been asked. Like they will give the options of like sound waves will travel, sound sound will travel fastest. Will travel fastest. Okay. Fastest in which particular? Like they will give the option of one they will give as the iron. Okay. They won't give a solid, liquid, or gas. They'll give iron. Okay. Then they'll give in the river water, river water. Then they'll give some gaseous names, like they'll give sulfur dioxide. Okay, so light options will be given. So sound waves will travel faster fastest in which? It will travel in the solid, and in the solid option that is iron. Okay, so remember that. So in this way, like concept basis questions are asked. Okay, so this is all about the primary waves. Then we have the S waves. We also call it as the secondary waves. We have the secondary waves, which we call it as the S waves. Okay, so now in this particular S wave or the secondary waves, if we see, first fastest waves we have the P, primary wave. Okay, then we have the second fastest wave, that is the secondary waves, that is the S waves. Okay, and in this S waves, what will happen? This S waves is what? It is the transverse waves. Okay, so transverse wave means what? Here crest and trough formation will happen, guys. Okay, it will traveling in this type of direction. Okay, so here what is happening? It is traveling in which direction? Like vertically it is traveling, coming down, then vertically it is going up, then vertically it is coming down. Okay, so here in this case, what we can conclude that, like we saw the primary wave, it is traveling in the horizontal direction. Okay, so can we conclude that this particular S wave will travel in the vertical direction? Okay, so that what that S wave is traveling in the transverse waves. Okay, here what will happen? We have the crest and the trough formation, crest and the trough formation. Okay, and P wave speed is 1.7 times faster than the S waves. Means what? Already we saw that P wave is faster. Okay. In our theory part, we saw that it is like 2 times faster. Okay. So it is not 2 times, it is near to 2 times faster. Okay. Like 1.7 times. Okay. Sometimes if maximum speed comes, it is of the 1.8 times. Okay. So P wave speed is 1.7 times to 2 times faster than the S waves. That is the secondary wave. Okay. Then we have the S wave is more destructive than the P wave. So what we saw? So destructive means what? P wave is less destructive, and then we have the S wave that is more destructive than the P wave. Okay. Then if you see in the S wave, what will happen? Since it is traveling in light, so here what will happen? In this particular part, it will not support the shear stress. Sorry, it will support the shear stress. Okay. So S waves travels only through the solid medium only. So leave this regarding the shear stress. Okay. Leave this shear stress part because that is the part of the physics. Like stress and strain, if you study there you will be seeing about this shear stress. So leave this part. Okay. So stress and strain, all those things you'll be studying. So these are not of that much important. So remember that like it will be traveling in the vertical direction, that crest and trough formation, and like that particular case and trough formation, if you have that particular wave is known as what? Transverse wave. Okay. So this is about that part. Now in the secondary waves, we have seen this particular part. So now in this part, if you see, they arrive at the surface with some time lag after the primary waves. Like some time gap will be there. It will not like, it will be not like when the primary waves just now it finished, so it will be that secondary waves will come. Okay, first we'll have the primary waves, then after some time we'll have the S wave, that is the secondary wave. Okay, they are slower than the primary waves and can pass through only through the solid materials. So remember about this part also. This property of S wave led seismologists to conclude that Earth's outer core is in liquid state. Okay, so by this we have studied that Earth's outer core is what? It is in the liquid state. Okay, means what? Like when we seeing about the shadow zone, when we'll be seeing about the shadow zone, there will be seeing that shadow zone of that particular P waves or the S waves, it is different. Okay, so by that particular process, we came to know that outer core is in liquid and the inner core is in the solid. Okay, so like shadow zone also, when we see that time, we'll see that how we are able to know this particular part. Okay, then it is in the liquid state. The entire zone beyond this from the epicenter receives the S waves beyond 105 degree. Okay, or somewhere it might be written as the 103 degree. So beyond that, it receives the S waves. Sorry, does not receive the S waves. So this particular part we will study in the shadow zone. Okay, they are transverse waves in which direction of particular movement and the wave propagation are happening perpendicular. So in the P waves, what we studied, that particle and the waves, direction of the waves, what they are parallel. Okay, that we study in the P wave. So in the S waves, what is happening? Like it is perpendicular. So this is the particle, okay, and waves is lies. Okay, so here what is happening? Here we have the perpendicular between these waves of particle and the direction of the waves. Okay, direction of the propagation. So remember this particular point, and in that only we have the transverse wave formation. Okay, then now the next part we have the surface wave. If you see regarding surface wave, this surface wave is also of the two types. Okay, surface wave we have two types. One is the love wave, and the other one is the Rayleigh wave. Okay, so this surface wave we already saw it is being felt on the surface of the earth. Okay, so when the body wave interact with the surface rocks, okay, surface rocks, a new set of waves is generated, and that is what? That is the surface wave. These waves move along the earth's surface. That means that these waves moves along the earth's surface, and surface waves are also transverse waves. So remember that only P wave is others all wave is what? Like S wave if you take, it is a secondary wave. L wave if you take, okay, or the Rayleigh wave if you take. All these three what? All these three are transverse waves. Transverse wave. Okay. And regarding this also question have come in the serious examination. So remember about this particular that P wave only it is longitudinal wave. Other all waves, earthquake waves are what? They are the transverse waves. Okay. So you know in serious exam is being taken by the UPSC. So how questions will come? It will come the statement based. Okay. So remember this particular part. Okay. So surface waves are also the transverse waves in which the particle movement is perpendicular to the wave propagation. So here also the crest and the trough formation will happen. Okay, crest and the trough formation will happen when they are passing through any material. Okay, so in this surface wave we saw it is of the two types of wave, and this particular surface wave, okay, this particular surface wave, what will happen? It will damage the most. Okay, the destructions happens by the surface wave, and that surface wave also, like we saw that we have the L wave, we have the Rayleigh wave. So in that what happens? In that surface wave also, that maximum destruction, the maximum damage happens by the Rayleigh wave. Okay, see, in the surface wave and the body waves, the damaging happens maximum in the surface wave. But in the surface wave also maximum destructions happens in the Rayleigh wave. Okay, and in the L waves, it is somewhat less than this particular Rayleigh waves. Okay, so remember that. Now by this point, can we arrange? Can we arrange according to the destruction? These waves according to the destruction in the decreasing order. So maximum destruction will be having the Rayleigh wave, that is the R wave. Okay. Then after this, we'll be having the destruction in the L wave. Then after this, we'll be having the destruction in the S wave, and then lowest we'll be having in the P wave. Okay. So remember about this particular order. Okay. This is what? This is in the decreasing order. So remember that maximum destruction will be having the R wave. Okay. Then surface wave are considered to be the most damaging waves. Two common surface waves, love waves and the Rayleigh waves. Okay. So now in these two types of love waves and the surface waves also we'll see. Now in this particular part, we have studied about destruction. In this part also we were studying about we'll be studying about this particular time speed travel. Okay. So that speed also we'll study. Okay. Now in this love waves, if you see, this kind of surface waves causes horizontal shifting of the earth during an earthquakes. Okay. Horizontal shifting will happen. Like we have the block mountain formation. Okay. Like from this side when we have the earthquakes, what happens? When we have the earthquakes, so what happens? Like from this particular part, it is being broken down. Okay. So this both what? It moves in opposite direction. So this is broken down. So like here we'll be seeing at this particular part, down part, we'll be seeing the surface. So here what happens? The horizontal shifting of the earth happens. Okay, during the earthquake in the love waves. They have much slower than body waves and are faster than the Rayleigh waves. Okay. So here now according to the speed. So now speed of the waves, if we arrange, we arrange according to the destruction. Now, speed of the waves, if you arrange, so in the speed of the waves, what will we see? In the maximum speed we have in the P waves. Okay. Then after that we have in the S wave. That is the secondary wave. Then after the secondary waves, we have the speed in the love wave. Okay. And then the lowest speed we have in the Rayleigh wave. Okay. So remember what this particular decreasing order of speed of the waves. So now we are studying the love waves. They exist only in the presence of semi-finite medium over 10, like having the upper finite thickness. Means what? Like semi-finite means what? That in the lithosphere part. Okay, so these love waves will appear in the only in the lithosphere part, in the up, like up of that. Okay, one there it will appear. Then it is confined to the surface of the crust. Love waves produce entirely the horizontal motion. So now we know that longitudinal, like the vertical direction, this love waves, what will happen? It will provide the horizontal motion. Okay, lies the motion it will be providing. So it will be providing this particular horizontal motion. So remember about this particular part. Okay. Then in this particular part, we have the Rayleigh waves. Then in the Rayleigh wave, if you see, these particular waves follow an elliptical motion. Okay, like a spring type, how the spring will be there. Okay, light it will be flowing. So what happens now, because of that folding of, like we said that love is what it is traveling lies. So in that case, what is happening? Like in this also we have a destruction, but now when it is like following this elliptical motion, so now in this particular part, can you say that we have the maximum destruction? So a Rayleigh wave rolls along the ground just like a wave rolls across a lake or an ocean. Because it rolls, it moves around up and down and side to side in the same direction that the wave is moving. So most of the second felt earthquake is due to the Rayleigh waves, okay, which can be much larger than the other waves. So remember that. And regarding the destruction about the part, also we studied, and also we studied about the order, that decreasing order, and the decreasing order of the destruction, and also we studied about the speed. Okay, so remember about that order also. So these things were about the waves. Okay, these things were all about all those waves. Now in this particular part, we'll study about the shadow zone. Okay, we'll study about the shadow zone. So in this particular part, about the shadow zone of the P waves. Okay, remember that the shadow zones will be having only in the body waves. Only in the body waves will be having the shadow zone. Remember that. And this particular shadow zone, how we are having, like here, like this is our Earth surface. Okay, here the one part of this entry of the Earth. Now in this part, what is happening? Like here we at this particular part we have the emergence of the earthquake. Okay, so when we have the emergence, so if this is the earth part, when we have the emergence, so now in this particular part what happens? Now from this particular part, as it goes through from this particular medium 1 to this particular mantle part. Okay, so there what is happening? Now here that reflection part is taking place from that wave is traveling from medium 1 to the medium 2. So in that, like what we saw, what is that rough reflection? Okay. So in that case, what happens? Now if some material is passing from this particular place, okay, according to the law of reflection, what will happen? It should pass directly. Okay, that is the rough reflection. Okay, means what? Like if you see in like direct medium, if it is passing, so it should pass directly. But what is happening? Now when it is passing through one medium to another medium, so in that case, what is happening? There is the bending of the waves. So in this particular part, at this angle, so what is happening? That particular wave is not traveling. So that particular wave is not traveling. So by that, this particular part, this much angle will be what? This much angle will be the shadow zone of that particular wave zone. So now in this part, we studied that P waves travels through all mediums. Okay, P waves travels through all mediums, but because of the law of refraction, what is happening? There is like bending. Okay, so in that part, what is happening? This much that particular surfaces are becoming the shadow zone. Okay, so if you see in this particular diagram, so here what is happening? Here we have the emergence. Okay, so from here to if you take this as the straight line. Okay, So from here 0 to this is 180 degree. Okay. So now in this particular, so on the other side 0 to 180 degree. Now in this particular part, what is happening at 1030 degree? Okay, at 1030 degree to 142 degree. Between that area, what is happening? We are not feeling the waves. Okay, between 1030 to 142 degree, we are not feeling these primary waves, and that is the shadow zone. Okay, so between 103 degree to 142 degree, we are not feeling this particular waves motion. Okay, so this is particular what? It is the shadow zone of the P wave. It is the shadow zone of P wave. Okay, somewhere it might be mentioned at the 105 degree also. Okay, so don't get confused, but the actual data is 103 to 142 degree. Okay, so somewhere if it is given the 105 degree also, so that is correct. Okay, but if it is mentioned the 106 or 107, that is incorrect. Okay, so either 103 or 105 to 142 degree. Okay, so in that case, what is happening? Like in the one part, in the one hemisphere, in a one hemisphere, what is happening? How much gap, how much shadow zone we are having? We are having of 39 degree. Okay, then in the other hemisphere, there also we have the same 39 degree. Here also 103 to 142 degree, that much we will have in the P waves. That's shadow zone P waves. Okay, means what? There will be no P waves traveling in this particular area. Okay, so here we have the 39. Here we have the 39 difference. So the total angle, if they ask, okay, what is the total angle of the shadow zone of the P waves? Okay, so in that total, what will happen? We'll be having a 78 degree. Okay, so remember total we will having the 78 degree. But if they are the shadow zone of P waves, so mark it as what? 103 to 142 degree. Okay, so this is regarding the shadow zone of P wave. Okay, so now in this particular part, we have the other S wave. Okay, so now here we'll see about the shadow zone of S wave. Okay, now in this particular shadow zone of S wave, if you see, like we know that this particular S wave travels only through the solid. Okay, it travels only through the solid. So what happens in that case? Like when it is traveling, okay, so from this part, what happens? At particular 10 degree, okay, at 10 degree, after 100 degree, what is happening? After that, we are not seeing this particular secondary waves. Okay, so we are not seeing this particular secondary waves after 1030 degree. Okay, 1030 till 180 degree, we are not seeing this particular secondary waves. Okay, so the shadow zone of the S wave is how much? It is from 103 to 180 degree. Okay, so that much is what? That much is the shadow zone of the S waves. Okay, now if they ask the total shadow zone, total angle of the shadow zone, so in that case, what we can say that 103 to 180 degree, how much we have? In one hemisphere, we have 77 degree, and in the other hemisphere, we have another 77 degree. So total shadow zone of the S wave, if you see, we have totally 154 degree. Okay, so remember about this particular part also. So this is all about the shadow zone of the P wave and the S wave. Okay, then all those scales we have seen. Okay, Richter scale, Mercalli scale, all those scales we have seen. Okay, now in this particular part, distribution of earthquakes also we have seen. In the distribution of earthquakes, if we see, we'll see about the distribution of earthquakes in the India. Like here, earthquake zones are given. So why we are talking about this part? Like from these questions have been asked that this particular state falls in which earthquake zones. So in this part, if you see, we have the totally like zone 2 we have, okay, zone 3 we have zone 4, okay, and we have the zone 5. So these are the various zones, earthquake zones in our India part. Okay, so now in that, like some particular part is being in the, if you see, like it is what it is according to the damage part. Okay, so on that basis we have divided these zones. Okay, the latest seismic zones map prepared by the National Disaster Management Authority, okay, reveals that nearly 59% of the India's land area is prone to the moderate or the severe earthquakes. Okay, so now in this zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5. So in that what happens, if you see in the zone 5 area, what happens, like here here we'll have the severe earthquakes. Here in that case what will happen, here we'll have the severe earthquakes, and this particular area can be seen in this particular, all those northeastern states are what zone, they comes under the zone 5. Okay, so what are those northeastern states? So that part we all must know. Like we have the seven sisters in that. Okay, seven sisters. So what are all those seven sisters? So that thing also you all must know. So just go through Google and search it. Okay, what are those seven sisters? Like we have the Arunachal Pradesh in this area. We have the Assam. We have the Assam in this particular middle part. Okay, we have the Manipur, Nagaland, Mizoram, Tripura, all those areas like Sikkim. Okay, all those areas are they are the northeastern states and they come under the zone 5. Okay, then in the zone 5 area, if you see in the some parts of the Bihar area. Okay, that also only few parts of the Bihar area also comes in the zone 5. Means what? The part where we will be seeing this Himalayan range. Okay, there we will be seeing some zone 5 areas. Okay, similarly in the this Uttarakhand area also we have the zone 5 area. Okay, only in some parts we have the zone 5. Okay, then we have the zone 4. Okay, so in that zone 4, what will happen? We are having the high earthquakes. High earthquakes. It will be not the severe earthquakes, we will have the high earthquakes. And these high earthquakes can be seen in these area. Okay. Then this particular area, UP, Bihar, there that will be coming under the zone 4. That will be coming under the zone 4. Okay. So these are the area which will be coming under the zone 4. Now we have the zone 3. In the zone 3, what will happen? Now in this part, you almost know severe earthquake means what? Earthquake means what? The maximum damage you will have. Then in high earthquakes in area, like it will have the damage, but it will be less than this particular severe earthquakes. Then we have the moderate earthquakes. Means what in that area that earthquakes won't be like more than 5 or more than 4. It won't be more than that. So that comes under the moderate. In that moderate, see, remember that the like if you have the high earthquakes, that will be from the like 5 to 6, or sometimes they give it as a 7. Then in the severe earthquakes, it will be more than 6 or 6 or 7 to 9. Okay, so that much will be having the severe earthquakes. Okay, and then moderate will be between this 4 5, and then that near before that moderate, like least we have, that will be less than that. So light we have divided the zones. So then we have the zone 3. Okay, and see this particular zone. This is what this particular zone. This is the Gujarat area. That is the Kutch area. Okay, in that Kutch area, that also comes under the zone 5. Okay, like on this particular in the Bhuj earthquakes when we had. So in that we had felt this particular earthquakes. So that comes under the zone 5. Remember this particular part also. Okay. Now we have one more area, that is the moderate earthquakes area. Okay. That moderate earthquakes area are these areas. Okay. These areas are what? Moderate earthquakes. Like some parts of Rajasthan. Okay. Some parts of UP, some parts of MP, some parts of Jharkhand, some parts of Chhattisgarh. Then we have the parts of Maharashtra, Goa, Kerala, parts of Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Andhra, Odisha area. Okay, they come under the zone 3. So remember about this particular part. Then we have the zone 2. So zone 2 is what? Like rarely we'll have the earthquakes. Or if you have the like earthquakes also means what? Like that will have the like very less magnitude. So that this stable area, it falls in the zone 2 area and zone 2. These are the zone 2 area. These are the zone 2 area. Okay. So like here parts of the Rajasthan, Gujarat, MP area. Okay, parts of Maharashtra. Then these area, Chhattisgarh, Telangana, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, some parts of West Bengal. Okay, then some parts of the Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra. So they fall in the zone 2. Okay, so remember that. Okay, so now in this part also we'll see some like various earthquakes we had. Okay, so in that part also we'll see like here 1.0. These are what? These are the magnitude. These are what? These are the magnitude. Okay, so in this magnitude, if you see like 1 to 2, if you say 1.0 to 1.9, there were the micro earthquakes, and that micro earthquakes had been felt 7 million years ago. Okay, then 2.0 to 2.9 we have one earthquakes, and here what will happen, that felt slightly by only it will be like some people and there will be no damage in the buildings. Then 3.0 to 3.9. Okay. So 3.0 to 3.9, if you see, it is being felt by the people, but it will rarely cause damage. Okay. Then 4.0 to 4.9 we have, that is the light. Okay. And that is noticeable shaking of the indoor objects. Okay. So generally what causes none to minimal damage. So only less damage will have in this particular earthquake magnitude. Okay. Then 5.0 to 5.9. Okay. There we have the moderate earthquake. Okay. And that moderate earthquake, if you see, there will have a slightly damage to the building and it will be felt by everyone in that area, that focus area. Okay. Then 6.0 to 6.9 magnitude, if you see, there will have the strongest, strong earthquakes. And there what happens, that poorly designed structures receive moderate to severe damage and felt in wide areas up to 100 of the kilometers from the epicenter. Okay. And a strong to violent shaking in the epicenter area. 7.0 to 7.9 comes in the major earthquakes area. Okay. And that causes damage to most buildings. Okay. And that will be felt across the distance with a major damage mostly limited to the 250 kilometer from the epicenter. Okay. So in that examples, if you see, like we have the Kutch earthquakes that we talked, that Bhuj area. Okay. That we talked about the Bhuj earthquake. So that is what, that is the Kutch earthquake only. Okay. So there we had the 7.7 to 8.2 magnitude. Okay. Sorry, Kutch earthquake, in the run of Kutch earthquake. Okay. Then in 2000, sorry, we had this Bhuj earthquake. We had this Bhuj earthquake in 2001. Okay. We had this Bhuj earthquake in 2001. And in the run of Kutch area, we had the earthquake in 1890. Okay. So this Gujarat area, so see, it is falling in the what? Zone 5. Remember that? Here we have the major, like it will cause severe damage. Okay. Then next part we have 5.0 to 5.9 Volisa, moderate, 6.0 to 6.9 strong, and 7 to 7.9 we have the major. Okay. 7.0 to 7.9 were the major earthquakes. Then 8.0 to 8.9 will have the great. Okay. And that what major damage to buildings, structures likely to be destroyed. Okay. And that will be felt extremely in large regions. Okay. That will be felt extremely in the large regions. Okay. Like we had in Assam earthquakes, Assam Tibet earthquakes that happened in 1950. Then in the Chile earthquakes, we had in 2010. So they are of the maximum magnitude. Then 9 and more greater, that will be coming greater than that also. And here we like, here everything will be destroyed. Okay. Near total destruction or the severe damage will be there. Okay. Permanent changes in the ground topography will be there. Okay. So like in that, if you see, we have the Alaska, then we have the Valdivia earthquakes in Chile. Okay. Then Indian Ocean earthquakes we had in the 2004, because of which we had the tsunami. Then Tohoku earthquakes. So these are the various, like all those different magnitude of earthquakes, and they fall in which particular category, that moderate, strong, major. Okay. So that part we have seen. Okay. So these are the all important parts we all must remember. And what are all those important earthquakes we must remember? In that we must remember about the Indian Ocean earthquakes that had happened, because of which we had the tsunami. Okay. So Indian Ocean earthquakes. Then we had the Valdivia earthquakes in Chile area. Then we have the Alaska earthquakes, 1964. Okay. Then Tohoku earthquakes we had in the Japan area. Okay. So here in the Valdivia earthquakes, what had happened? The undersea mega thrust earthquake, most powerful earthquakes. So remember that mostly all these, like that all those greater earthquakes, okay, greater with the greater magnitudes, they will be felt in the oceanic area. They will be mostly felt in the oceanic area, not in the continental area. Okay. So these are the various parts regarding these earthquakes, types of earthquakes, and the distribution of the earthquakes. So we have finished the topic, this particular earthquake and its types and the distribution.